Studio A this morning with my guest from San Juan Regional Medical Center, the chief of EMS Services at the hospital. William Coker is here this morning. Good morning. Thanks for coming over.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here. You are in Farmington by way of Arkansas and Florida, you were telling me,
Yes,
right?
I am. Yes.
And you've been here for almost a year.
Almost a year.
Right.
About 10 months.
Very good. So talk to me a bit about the EMS. You are in charge of the ambulance service.
I am.
It's much more than that, of course.
Yes, it is.
But as we were talking about, there are how many ambulance stations around, EMS stations around the county?
Yes, we have 7 EMS stations throughout the county, all, strategically placed
Right.
based on, we look at data from call volume and location and response times and figure out those are the appropriate places to place an ambulance.
Right, but it's a pretty big county, so that's
It is.
why you have to be pretty strategic into how you
Yes.
place those stations, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
And staff them too, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, they all need to be staffed
Yes.
all the time,
Yeah,
24 hours a day,
24/7. Yes. Yep.
365.
You never know when an
Yeah.
emergency happens or, a medical emergency, and so we have to be there and to better serve our community.
Right. What's the average size of a crew that you? I mean, I guess if you were fully staffed, ideally, what would the preferred size be?
Normally, when you get an ambulance, you'll get a two people on that ambulance. It'll be a paramedic and an EMT intermediate.
Okay.
Is what you will get on an ambulance. Every now and then, you may get a third person on there, but
Right.
Generally, it's 2 people.
Gotcha. And it seems to me like when there's a call for an ambulance, there's maybe some firefighters that show up as well. That's pretty common.
It is.
It comes from dispatch, I think, too, right? And they will determine what's going on and then how to make that response or who to send on that response, right?
Yes, that's correct. Whenever somebody calls 911, dispatch will go through their card system and they'll ask several questions, and it'll determine, the appropriate level of response to send. And some of those being, some incidences may require more hands on deck. And so you'll get a larger response from our fire department partners
Right.
and even law enforcement.
Gotcha.
And so, yes, you will get fire department for the majority of the time, and because they're trained also in EMS. Not as a higher level like ALS, what we provide, advanced life support, but they can definitely sometimes get there quicker and start getting that care, rendering care faster.
Right. Because certainly, as many ambulance stations as there are in the county, there are more fire departments, I think,
Absolutely.
and fire stations in the
Yes,
county too,
yes,
so they
there
can
are.
get there a little bit faster than you guys can. But let's talk a little bit about when to call an ambulance, because I know that's been a big message for the community over the years about when to call for an ambulance. Maybe not driving yourself or trying to get to the hospital on your own or with a family member or things like that. Talk to me a bit about some of the importance of getting that care quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, anytime you have chest pain, shortness of breath, just not feeling right, what we call altered LOC or altered level of consciousness, you absolutely need to call an ambulance because it can a wide range of things, and we can get there and start providing those appropriate level of care earlier the better, those life-saving interventions.
Right.
Because an ambulance, we carry, think of it almost like a mobile intensive care emergency room, essentially. So we have quite an array of equipment and medications that we can start those interventions rapidly and early.
Right. And for many folks who remind me when I talk to them on this program, when it's maybe a heart attack or potential stroke or things like that, the faster you can start getting treatment, that can really help in the outcome of whatever it is that's going on. And that's why maybe getting that treatment started on the ride to the hospital is so important, right?
Absolutely. Time is muscle is what we say. And so, cardiac muscle, once it dies, it doesn't come back. It's not something that we can rehab and get better. And so if we can get those interventions quicker, we can get the appropriate resources activated faster. We can get your interventions done. And, so again, time is muscle. And so the same works, neurologically. So if we can get
Time to the brain, too.
time to the brain. So
Right.
if we can get you, to appropriate neurology center quite quicker, then, the better outcome, the quicker your rehab may be if it is a stroke or or whatever it may be.
Sure. And part of this, too, I think, is your communication back to the emergency department, right? Because as you are driving back to the hospital with the patient, providing that care, you can also be transmitting some of the vitals, some of the other information about that patient, so that the emergency department folks are, I guess, ready for whatever that case is as it rolls through the door.
Yes, that's correct. And say somebody is having a heart attack. Or having chest pain, and we arrive and our paramedics do an EKG. They're in your living room or in your bed or wherever you may be. Our paramedics are able to interpret if you are indeed having a heart attack. Most of the time, there are we call non-STEMI, non-ST elevation myocardial infarctions, where blood work's really going to be your big way of knowing. But if you are having a STEMI in the field, we can transmit that EKG from wherever we are directly to the hospital, to cardiology, to the ER, and notify the physicians. We can get on the phone, and we can get the cath lab, everybody ready. So the time we walk in, we're going straight there. So,
right.
And that is the goal. We shoot for that door to balloon time, or door to cardiologist. We really try to get that, less than an hour, which is phenomenal.
And that shortens that window again. And again, time is muscle, time is brain. So whether you're having a heart attack or a stroke, whatever you can do to be ready when the patient comes to the hospital, that's really important, I think, for their prognosis.
Yes,
I would think, and so that's a good thing. You mentioned walking through the door, but I know you guys don't really walk. You walk fast, maybe not walk slowly.
With a purpose.
You are definitely, I don't want to get in your way. That's for sure. And that leads me to ask you a little bit about driving ambulances and getting through traffic and things like that. We know that when there's an ambulance coming up and lights are flashing and the siren's going, that motorists should be pulling over to the right. I don't think that always happens.
No,
and that's unfortunate, right?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you have seen? Do you have any of those stories about trying to maneuver through heavy traffic?
So that is an important reason of why when you call for an ambulance, we're not calling for a stub toe, if you will. We're calling for a true emergency. And anytime we turn on our lights and sirens, we put everyone in a higher risk of danger. Our people, the public, it is just a general higher risk. So yes, if you see an ambulance coming or hear emergency sirens, just pull to the right, slow down, pull to the right, and stop. Sometimes you will hear them, but you don't always see them. So just be patient until you don't hear them anymore, or you see them pass. But yes, pull to the right.
Gotcha. Now, some people might be listening and watching us this morning and saying, but what if I'm on, Main Street and it's got 6 lanes of traffic and I can't get over to the right? Can I go to the left? Can I at least get out of your way? What would be the plan B, I guess? Right?
Yeah, I would say try to just find the closest shoulder if you could, and just try to create a pathway for emergency vehicles to come through. And just because you see one come through, don't always assume that's
it, right?
Because it could be, a fire truck and an ambulance right behind them, or vice versa, or even a law enforcement vehicle coming through. So once you see them through, definitely check your surroundings and make sure that was the last emergency vehicle going through.
Right. Good point. And I know there's been some advances with technology, with signal lights and things like that really do try to help kind of open up the roadways for emergency vehicles by making the cycles green for the through traffic with ambulances and emergency vehicles and police and fire and those types of things. That's probably, I think, been helpful, right?
Yes, it has. Not every intersection has that capability, but yes, the technology is out there to do that. And we also, with technology coming out, they have changed the sirens. So we try to variate our frequency of the output of that siren to a low frequency and a high frequency because of the hearing of the general public. Not everyone is the same on hearing. So some people don't hear a high frequency sound, so we'll adjust to a low frequency. And so that's why now, you'll hear, ambulances or emergency vehicles come through with various sirens, and it's not to be cool or anything like that. It's because of the variable frequency to for the public to hear.
Sure. Well, and it's part of that because I've got like 35 speakers in my car, all blasting at volume 10 or something too.
That could. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. But that's important. And when it comes to driving, I mean, are there some special driving training that your folks get to be able to learn to drive an ambulance or to maneuver through traffic and respond to emergencies?
Yes. When we hire and go through, their process of training and everything, they go through a CEVO in an emergency vehicle operations course and do defensive driving, and it's a very specific and extensive training that they do go through, because these ambulances also, they're not light.
No, sure.
And so they're about 13,000 pounds of medical equipment, and they don't stop like your normal car. So, but yes, they do go through significant amount of driver training.
Got you. And is that similar to what a firefighter or police officer might receive too for their emergency driving and things like that?
Yes, it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. And you were telling me before we came on the air this morning that you are hiring. You've got room for more folks, right?
Absolutely, we are. There is a national shortage of paramedics, and so yes, we are hiring, and the community college here has been wonderful, and San Juan Regional Medical Center, we have made the determination that if you come on board, we'll help pay for your school, and we have a great relationship with the college here. So,
that sounds like a win-win to me.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Not very many employers will pay for your continuing education, and San Juan Regional Medical Center will do that. So,
nice.
Absolutely.
What's required for a job with EMS? Is it a 2-year degree from the college, or is it a bit more or a bit less?
So they have taken pretty much what it would take a paramedic 2 to 3 years if they did, a slowed down pace. Because of the shortage, the demand for paramedics is higher, so they do an accelerated. So it would be a semester of EMT is how long it takes to get your EMT as one college semester, and then it is a year of 90 to nothing, all hands on deck for a paramedic here at the college. So you could get from 0 to paramedic in about a year and a half, 2 years, and if you played your cards right, you would come out with your associate's degree, if not your bachelor's.
Got it. And as you said, that would be, I guess, mostly paid for then if you are working with the hospital.
Absolutely.
And maybe give a promise to come work for you once you get that degree. Is that the idea?
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
Got it. Very good. How many folks would you say you're looking for?
I would say close
Ideally.
to. I would love to have a dozen paramedics. I think that would be everyone's Christmas wish list this year. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Well, that would be helpful, right?
Absolutely.
As you're trying to staff all those stations that we talked about and things along that line.
Yeah.
The volume of calls. I know you work very closely with the dispatch center, and I know. They can tell me that the volume of calls is just amazing. I don't know if the public realizes just how many times EMS gets called to an incident. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be, a stub toe, and then you get there and find out it's a stub toe, and you go home. But I think you get called a lot, don't you?
We do. We're on track this year for responding to approximately 23,000 medical calls. That's county-wide.
Okay. It's too early in the morning for me to do that math to figure out what that is per day. That's a lot.
We average approximately, I believe, it's like 59.8 currently. What is about 60 calls a day is what we are called requested for just EMS. That's not fire or law enforcement requests. That is specifically EMS. About 60 calls a day is what we respond to. That's
a lot. Obviously, that means to me, I could do that math, that your crews are doing multiple calls a day.
Yes. Some crews are in it. They work 24-hour shifts, and some crews are responding, anywhere from 17 to 24 calls within that 24 hours. So,
wow.
very little sleep, long hours, but it's a very rewarding career.
Right, I would think so. You're definitely doing some life-changing things.
Absolutely.
On those calls, so that's important. And so, are there some other calls that are maybe patient transports? A little bit like, do you do calls like taking people to Albuquerque or other medical facilities when needed, or things along that line?
We do. That service is available, but generally, if they need to go to Albuquerque, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, somewhere else, because we are so isolated here, we have air care, so we'll either fly them fixed wing or through with a helicopter there at the hospital. But we do have that ground capability of doing that as well. And if you need a ride to your doctor's appointment, we have those services. We provide those services as well.
Right.
Or if you need to, from the hospital to back home because of a medical condition and you're not able to sit in a car or you need to be on a stretcher, we do provide those services as well.
Gotcha. And certainly the air care unit is another really important part of EMS in the area. Is that under your jurisdiction or is that somebody else?
No, that is not. That is under someone else's jurisdiction.
They're separate.
But we are separate. But I would say over half of the staff that fly for air care also work with us part-time. And so we work very cohesively with our air care partners.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. And it's an amazing resource to be able to offer to people in the area. I know it gets used all the time.
Yes, I have been all over the country, and the capability and the resources that we have here, we are very, very privileged to have. We really are.
For the size of the community.
For the size of the community, the isolation of it, not very many people have this this type of robust system. So
Well, we appreciate having it. I think
Yes.
that's important as someone who has not needed to use it but could. I appreciate that it's available for sure. And for someone maybe on the track to become an EMS or a paramedic, I guess maybe working air care unit would be the next level up, I guess, once you get trained and get some experience on the ground, that maybe if you do want to get into the flight teams, that would be a possibility.
yes, absolutely, it is a possibility. They require, I believe, 3 or 4 years of service. I
Sure.
don't take my word for it entirely, but it is several years of experience before you get up there. But some people do like to go that avenue because of the change of pace. Just kind of a different. You're still taking care of patients, but a little bit different than being on the ground. But some people like to just stay where we're at because it's a high intensity, high volume, very fast paced. It's at a different. It's a different pace for
Right,
sure.
for sure, that's true. But the basics are the same, right? If someone wants to do either or, on the ground or in the air, you still need that basic education and training.
There is. If you go down the air path of air medicine, there is physiology differences with altitude, and so there is further training that you will need to pursue
Right.
if you do go that route.
Right,
Yes.
very good. You mentioned the fast pace and dealing with multiple calls every day and things like that. I know that's got to be rough for maybe some new people or even some veterans who are in that. I mean, it's important, I think, for folks to take time for themselves, and mental health is really important for our emergency
is.
services and things like that. How do you deal with things like that?
That is one thing that it's we try to balance that every day, but that is one thing that I really try to emphasize is make sure that when you are off work, you are off work. Don't worry about us. That's to our employees. Don't worry about us. You go home and you separate yourself because you have to have that work-life balance.
Right.
Because it does. You are exactly right. It does take a toll, physically, mentally, emotionally. It wears on you after a while.
Sure.
Because people see things and are around things in our line of work that 99% of the community will never see or experience in their lifetime, nor should they. So EMS is a very special breed of people, and and we just try to take care of our folks.
Yeah, that's important,
Yes.
and important to remind everybody about that too.
Yes.
To take time. So I'm glad to hear that that's part of your message to your crews and things like that. So
Yes.
that's really important. As we come up on the holiday season, is there any advice that you would give to folks who maybe are doing some holiday traveling or things like that, things to be aware of or be careful about as they're getting out and about?
Just the population on the highways are going to get crazy and busier, and people from out of town that don't know some of the roads, and so just give yourself a little extra time of travel, and stay high alert, head on a swivel is what we like to say, and enjoy the holidays, enjoy your family.
Right.
Yeah.
Good advice. That is
Yeah.
good advice. Very good. Well, William Coker, thanks for coming in and talking with me about your
Thank you.
job with EMS and San Juan Regional
appreciate it.
Medical Center. Again, to you and your staff, we appreciate the work that you all do. You're not taking the holidays off. I know your staffs aren't.
No.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
That's
365.
correct. That's correct.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
we'll do a turkey dinner at the station.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
important for your
Yes.
crews. So very good. Merry Christmas. Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. My guest this morning from San Juan Regional Medical Center here on KSJE.